The story starts in a high school classroom where 4 students are sitting. 3 of them are busy chatting while one student named Park Han-jun is sitting alone. Someone enters the class and Han-jun looks at him. It is Choi Sejang. He asks others if they are going to refuse to welcome him. Those 3 greet him nicely. The blonde girl asks him if he has sold much of the new chapter. He says of course and shows them the record sale of 48 million won. His friends show excitement over his achievement and ask him for a treat this weekend. Choi Sejang looks at Park Han-jun and says he has something important to do before this. He grabs Han-jun's head and smashes it against the desk. He asks him how he dares to ignore him. He asks if Han-jun has bought the new chapter he has uploaded. While asking this, he keeps beating him. He thinks Han-jun wants his business to flop. Han-jun does not reply and keeps bearing this brutality. Sejang looks at his face and says even an animal would understand what he is saying by now. The blonde girl asks what Sejang will do if Han-jun goes to the teacher and complains about him. Han-jun replies he has given enough money to the teacher to be on their side. He punches Han-jun and says there will be a bloodbath if the teacher acts up. After beating him this much, he looks at Han-jun's face. He gives Sejang a scary look. Sejang asks him if he wants to have a go at him. He keeps irritating Han-jun to make him angry. He tells him that if he reports him, he is confident in seeking damage compensation from him. But he is poor now as he acted cheeky towards Cheon-soo Kim and got his life screwed up. He does not have anything to pay again for compensation. While getting beaten, he thinks about the incident that happened 2 years ago. A high school gang grew up all over the country. They called it Nexus. All the gang members had a ring with an X written on it. Han-jun started a war with their head Kim Chun-soo. Right when he thought he had won the war, Nexus filed a lawsuit against him. Their consistent lies manipulated and fabricated the situation and evidence. Because of that, Han-jun lost the case. And his father's gym, which he gave his whole life, had to be sold to pay for the settlement money. After that, Han-jun promised himself that he would never fight again. He apologized to his father while crying. His father consoled him and said he should not be crying. Han-jun is walking on the street when 3 boys pass nearby him. One of them recognizes him and tells others about him. The buffed one among them acts cheeky and comes near him. He calls him and asks if he recognizes that ring in his hand. After a while, they take him to an empty street in Beaconwell. That buffed guy calls him useless and weak. He wonders how a weakling like him could fight Nexus. He talks badly about his father as well. Hearing this, Han-jun grabs his leg and gives him a scary look. That buffed guy looks shocked. Han-jun apologizes to him immediately for his recent behavior. The buff guy wonders how he could get intimidated by Han-jun when he glared at him. He feels pathetic and picks a stick. He starts beating him with it and asks why he wriggled. That guy breaks any sticks while beating him with them. They leave him there after getting satisfied and walk away. Right then, a well-suited stranger stops by him. He sits near him and asks why Han-jun is bearing all this. Suppose he is afraid that he will have to pay again. He tells him he should leave him half paralyzed for beating him like this. He asks if Han-jun is worried about the money for lawsuits and if he can pay for him. He opens a bag and bundles of notes fall out of it. He tells Han-jun he can get a decent law firm with that much money. But if does not want to file a lawsuit, he can beat them up and use that money to compensate for the damage. He asks how long it will take him to take them down. Han-jun asks him who he is. That guy replies he is someone who wants to beat up Cheon-soo Kim. He says he can tell them the details, but too many people are listening. That buff guy looks at that money and gets amazed. He says he wouldn't have beaten him if Han-jun had already told him he had this much money. Han-jun hits him with his elbow and breaks his jaw. That buff guy falls unconscious and hits the ground. Han-jun says it will take him 4 seconds to beat them. The other 2 get terrified and ask him to stop if they did not beat him earlier. But he beats the crap out of them. He says no one is listening anymore, so that guy should tell him about his motives. He takes him into his office and asks if Han-jun does not watch the news. He opens his profile on his phone and shows it to him. He's Oh Jung-woo, Korea's youngest successful CEO. He says he can use millions of wons to blow his nose. He asks Han-jun if and knows what kind of life Cheon-soo Kim is living. The article's headline about him is a popular student because he lives an upright life and has both exceptional looks and abilities. Ho Jun-woo says this is hilarious. While he is still recruiting people and doing gangster stuff behind the scenes, those ruined by him live like vegetables. It is not hard to bury him in the grave within society, but that is not what Oh Jun-woo wants. He wants to use his methods, filthy, petty, and repulsive methods to screw up both his life and mind. He says he will bear all the expenses for ruining Cheon-soo's life and also the money that Han-jun needs to live his life. Han-jun just has to lend his fists to him in return. Han-jun asks him why he hates Cheon-soo Kim. Oh Jun-woo leans forward and says he will know the reason with time. For now, the important thing is that they have a common enemy. Han-jun enters the class when Sejong asks his classmates to buy his new merchandise online. He is a Nexus member and the class is terrified of him. Han-jun goes near him. Sejong asks him why he is staring at him. Suppose he wants to get beaten again. Han-jun says nothing and punches him in the face. The whole class starts looking at them. Han-jun understood the concept that this world is run by money and power. Sejong remembers being unafraid of anything as no one was stronger than him. But then, he met Han-jun. When he saw him fighting, his whole body screamed that he had no chance against him. It was like he was a different breed. He was a wild beast. But that was only until he met Chien-Soo Kim. He screwed Han-jun's life with a lawsuit, took all his money, and brought him to his knees. That's when Sejong realized that the world is ruled by money. Soon he started an online store and forced his classmates to buy his goods. He got rich this way. Han-jun was nothing but a tamed beast. That's how he got back on the top of the food chain. But he wonders why he is getting beaten up now. Han-jun is breaking his bones. Sejong tries to attack back, but Han-jun blocks it. He crushes his foot and breaks his nose with his knee kick. Sejong is wondering what is happening to him all of a sudden. Han-jun is beating him continuously. His friends are terrified seeing him getting beaten like this. The other classmates are happy to see a bully getting bullied by someone. A few are even recording this fight. Sejong feels it humiliating. Han-jun throws him away and he hits the wall. Sejong spits blood on the floor. He asks Han-jun why he is doing this. Han-jun comes close and gazes at him with a scary face. Sejong flinches and asks his friend Joe to help him. Joe looks in that direction. Han-jun passes him an angry look. Joe turns his face away and understands that he cannot do anything. Sejong grins by looking at his useless friend. He brings out his mobile and starts making a video. He warns Han-jun that he has no money left. This time he would not be able to save himself from the lawsuit. Han-jun kicks in his face. The sole of his shoe prints on Sejong's face and his nose bleeds. His face keeps getting hit by kicks. He thinks he might die if he keeps getting hit at this rate, so he runs out of the classroom. Han-jun comes out of the room following him. While running, Sejong tries to calm him down and thinks that Han-jun has not done any fights in the last 2 years, so he will not be able to fight against a gym rat. He enters a room and asks Sung to help him. Sung stops his workout and asks him about what happened to his face. Sejong requests him to save his life. At the same time, Han-jun reaches there. Sejong tells Sung that he will give him 1 million won if he knocks down Han-jun. Sung looks at him and thinks 1 million won is less to beat this beast. He demands 2 million. Sejong agrees. He just wants to save his life right now. Sung goes near Han-jun and says it is not personal but needs money to attend a sports college. Han-jun asks if he wants to go into sports science majors. Sung replies yes. Han-jun gives him money and says he should not be straining his body for this. He asks him to take the money and step off. Sung happily accepts it and says Sejong is all Han-jun's. He throws Sejong out of the class. A teacher passing them sees this and wonders what's happening here. He sees Han-jun coming out of the room and asks what he thinks he is doing in the school. He takes them to his office. He asks Han-jun if he is a street gangster. Why is he beating his classmates so brutally? He reminds him that he gave Han-jun a second chance 2 years ago and saved him from expulsion. But he will not show any mercy this time. Sejong smirks at him, seeing him being scolded by the teacher. Han-jun gets up from his seat and punches Sejong in the face. The teacher is shocked and asks him if he has lost his mind. He grabs him and tries to hold him back. Sejong realizes that it is his end. While Han-jun throws punches at him, a man in a suit enters the room and asks him to stop now. The teacher asks him who he is. Byung-won Kim introduced himself and said he was an associate lawyer at the KR firm. The teacher asks what business he has here. At night, in the office of Jung-woo, Han-jun asks him how he did that. He says his teacher started groveling at him after talking with the lawyer. Sejong got expelled on the spot. Jung-woo says this was very easy for him to do. He tells him that Sejong just paid the price to harass him in the past. The teacher was involved in immoral acts. That lawyer showed him the evidence and his tail was safely tucked between his legs. He says he will not crush that teacher now as having him on their side is necessary to send Sanjang to juvie. Once his work is over, he will also be sent to jail. Jung-woo says he does not pay his taxes to support teachers like him. He asks Han-jun if he enjoys fighting after a long time. Suppose he is thankful to him for what he did for him today. Han-jun replies he kind of thankful. Jung-woo says there is too much left to be done before he gets thanks from him. At his home, Sejong is angry and throwing his things away. He says he will not go down quietly. He decides to kill Han-jun. The following day, he walks on the road wearing a hoodie and stops in front of a 3-story building. The door opens partially and someone from inside asks him who he is. He tells about him and says he is here to check the progress. The door is opened by a boy who excitedly tells him he has come here at the right time as Jinsong is here. Inside the room, some guys are beating a man. Jinsong Huang, the leader of the runaway boys, asks Sejing to come in. The guy getting beaten up calls Sejing names as he is here because of him. Jinsong hits him in the back and asks him to stay quiet. He orders his boys to remove that man from the scene. He asks Sejing why he is here as he never drops by in person. Sejing replies he is here to make a more extensive request. Jinsong asks how big this is. Sejing says he will pay 10 million won for that. The guy in a red shirt says he does not need to hear more. Just say the name of who is annoying Sejing. Jinsong hits that guy with the bat and asks him to stop acting giddy. He suggests he understands the seriousness of the situation. He says the game must be some real humdinger if the client offers this much. He asks who he is. Sejing says it is Han-jun Park. Jinsong instantly asks him to get out of there after hearing the name of Han-jun. He asks if he looks dumb as ordinary means won't do any harm to Han-jun. Sejing says he is offering 10 million up front. If they succeed, it will be 20 million. Jinsong and his boy are stunned to hear the offer. He laughs and locks the deal. The car stops at the front of an abandoned house in the middle of the city. Jianmu enters the house and wears off his shoes at the doorstep. Walking inside, he loses his tie knot and apologizes for not coming too long. He was swamped. He also has brought fried chicken. He sits on the couch and says chicken these days is so small that one might consider it a sparrow. He is talking to someone and says his dad used to make the best fried chicken in the town. Jianmu says he is craving it right now. They had it last time about 2 years ago. Saying this, he becomes sad. It feels like yesterday to him. Then he gets up and walks out, saying he will be busier again and unable to come soon. The last thing he says before leaving is that the things he has been preparing for are finally coming into shape. When he leaves the house, Byung-won tells him that Sejing is making his move. Should he take care of him? Jianmu says Byung-won knows his style. He never makes things simple and clean. Byung-won grins and says as he wishes. Han-jun's father gets a call from a gym to hire him as a trainer. He is surprised to hear about the salary package as well. After disconnecting the call, he pats his son's head and tells him he has a good job. He wonders how things are getting good all of a sudden. Han-jun stands up and says he is going to hit the gym. His father asks him not to be late as they will eat a nice dinner tonight. When he goes downstairs, he gets a call from Jungwoo. He warns him about Sejing's making a move. He tells Han-jun that Sejing has hired some high school runaways as mercenaries. He asks him to call them back if they come looking for Han-jun. He replies that there will be no need for that as those guys are already outside his home. Jinsong smirks and tells Han-jun he is happy to see him. Han-jun looks at him and asks him who he is. Meanwhile, a van comes running towards him. That red shirt guy is moving it forward to hit him. Han-jun glares at him. He starts running towards the van instantly. Everyone looks at him shockingly. Han-jun hits the van with his kicks. That guy gets terrified and turns the wheel towards the left. This makes him roll over the van and he falls behind the van. His head hits the road and starts bleeding. Those runaway boys are glad to see him doing self-harm. Their boss tells them that it is his brilliant move. Han-jun gets up and says he is outraged now. All those boys take their position and get ready to beat him. Jinsong thinks Han-jun must have lain low for a while, but he still got his wits and agility about him. Even so, he just got injured. Suddenly, the people of surrounding buildings wake up hearing the noise of an accident and start watching from their windows. Jinsong orders his boys to get in the van and they leave from there. Han-jun runs after them. Those guys see him coming after them and laugh at his nonsense. But their smile changes into a scream when he catches that van. He jumps over the van and breaks the back glass with his punch. He grabs a guy from his shirt and pulls him out of it. They both fall on the road. A guy asks Jinsong what they should do as their fellow has fallen off. He replies to leave him there and move, so they drive away from there leaving their fellow behind. Han-jun asks him where those men have headed to. That guy says he does not know. He grabs him and beats him well. But that guy says he will not tell him, no matter how much he beats him. Han-jun does not hold back either and throws hits at his face. At their apartment, those runaway guys celebrate their work. Jinsong appreciates his boys for their excellent work. Sejing looks disappointed. He slams the glass at the table. He asks Jinsong why they celebrate when he and his men cannot catch him. He says they all should do the money's worth before reveling. He asks what they will do if Han-jun comes there. All those boys start looking at each other's faces for the answer. Jinsong says he can understand what Sejing is trying to say, but Han-jun must be very smart to find them first. He puts his arm on his shoulder and says such feedback doesn't stoke his zest for work. He grabs his glass and tells him that there is a Korean saying, "You do not use a poultry knife to hunt a boar." He breaks his glass and say they are hunting a tiger now. He brings a piece of that broken glass near his face and says there is no knife to hunt a tiger. But that's how their ancestors hunt the tiger, by unleashing a pack of pungent dogs after him. Tigers are edgy. They love a quiet environment by nature, but dogs torment them for as long as it takes till they die of exhaustion. And he is following the same strategy right now, exhausting him and driving him delirious to his bitter death. Suddenly, something strikes the steel door heavily. All those boys wondered what it was. They think about who can put a dent in their door. A strike's sound increases. Jin-sung asks somebody to go check who is at the door. A guy looks through the door hole and tells others it's Han-jun outside. All of them get shocked to know that. Jin-sung asks them to relax, as even Han-jun cannot break the iron door. He says Han-jun will get tired and go back home eventually. After a while, the sound of the door strike stops. That red-shirt guy says Han-jun must have gone scared to fight all of them and left. But Han-jun climbs the window, breaks the glass, and enters the room. Jin-sung says it is nonsense to climb the 3 floors and break in. Han-jun beats 3 of them well with a rod and his fists. He asks the rest who wants to be the next. Sajin grinned as he knew something terrible was going to happen. Jin-sung does not look terrified. He remembers that they all handled Sun Paik like a cakewalk. They lost 3 pawns, but it might be because they were raided. They must have tactics and moves they have been using. If they bring their game, they can win against him. Jin-sung orders his boys to raise him down. They all move together to do a group attack. Han-jun dodges the first attack. He makes that guy trip first. Then he grabs him by his leg and smashes him against the wall. A guy is about to attack with a bat from behind. As he swings the bat, Han-jun bends forward to escape his attack. He grabs that guy by his neck and smashes his head on the floor. That red-shirt guy appears behind. Han-jun turns to stop his attack, but the second boy grabs both his arms. He asks his fellow to finish him. He hits his head with the bat and thinks he has got rid of him. Then he gets shocked to see his broken bat. Han-jun gives him a terrified look. He throws him out of the window. That guy falls on the road outside. At the same time, a biker comes there and stops near him. She removes her helmet and looks at him. She goes near him and asks if Han-jun is up there. He thinks she's an angel. He tells her he is up there. He asks her for her number, so she hits him in the head with her helmet. After that, she sits on her bike and calls Jun-woo. She tells him about Han-jun and that he is fighting and breaking into a house there. He asks her about the location. She says she cannot decide which designer bag she should buy. She says she is so confused that she cannot tell about his location. Jun-woo understands that she is asking for money, so he sends her. She becomes happy and gives him the exact address. It is just Jin-sung and Han-jun left. Jin-sung admits that he cannot beat him. He asks why he has spread him. He thinks Han-jun needs something from him. He asks him to say the name, and that thing will be his possession. In return, he can let him go safely. Han-jun says he is thinking wrong. He grabs him by his neck and lifts him. Jin-sung chalks and beats him unthinkingly with a bat. Han-jun throws him to the ground. He punches in his face. Suddenly, a guy enters through the door and sees all this mess. He grabs Han-jun's arm and asks him to stop destroying his house. He asks why he is fighting in his house instead of on the street. He tells him he is already suffering enough as an orphan. Those gangsters frequent his house as they own it. Now he is running everything here. He cries louder and asks why all this bad is happening to him. Meanwhile, Jun-woo enters the house and says destroying it is unnecessary. That kid asks Jun-woo if he ordered him to break into his house. Jun-woo says he will pay for the damage. That guy asks for 10 million won. But his face beams when Jun-woo says he will give him 50 million won. Jin-sung finds his chance until he runs towards the window to escape. He jumps from it, but Han-jun grabs him before he falls. He tells him he is not done with him yet. Jin-sung knows he is dead when he gets pulled up, so he brings a knife from his jacket. He pierces Han-jun's hand with it, so Han-jun leaves his collar and sets him free. Jin-sung smiles, thinking he has saved himself, but then he realizes he is about to fall to the ground. He's got his shoulder injured. He gets up and runs away from there. Jun-woo looks at him and says his will to stay alive is strong. One of those runaway guys laughs at them and calls them stupid as they have stepped on a mine. Both of them look at him and think what he is talking about. That guy says Jin-sung's father is the chairman of PJ, the shipping behemoth. He asks if they know how cold-blooded a seaman can get. His father is not just a seaman. He's a mega-rich one who can make them vanish into thin air. Jun-woo looks concerned first. Then he smirks and says this can be problematic. Jin-sung enters his house stumbling. His father, Haryeon Wong, looks at him, grabs him by the shoulders and asks who did this to him. Jin-sung trembles and asks his father if he can barrel 2 guys for him. His father warns him that there is no coming back after that. He replies that he knows that. Haryeon asks him what has motivated him to choose this option. He replies that he let 2 unworthy guys get at him. His father smirks and says his imprudent son finally dares to take revenge. But if he wants this favor from his father, he must ask differently. He lifts his chin and says he should not let his eyes sell him out as pathetic or insincere to his listeners, or they return on their offer. He should focus on what he demands and ask again as his life hangs on it. Jin-sung rubs his eyes with his sleeves, looks at his father and says he will not rest till he sees their dead bodies. Hae-ryong likes his son's courage. He calls someone and tells him they need 2 steel barrels. They are going to teach some adolescent daredevils a lesson. After a while, some cars head towards their location and stop outside a construction building. Hae-ryong and his errand boys get inside the building to beat those 2. Jung-woo calls it interesting to bring a guerrilla troop to a high school feud. He says he does not want an untimely death as he has a different plan for his life. He asks if Miss Hwang cares to know about it and he can tell him. Hae-ryong is shocked to hear this tone. He recognizes that it is Miss Oh and wonders what he is doing here. Suddenly, he gets a call and is informed that all OG affiliates are reaching out to notify cancellation of the shipping deal for next quarter. They are doing this because it is Chairman Oh's order. Hae-ryong is in a blue funk to hear this. Jun-woo looks at him and smirks. Hae-ryong gets on his knees and begs for forgiveness from Jun-woo. His boys ask him what happened to him all of a sudden. He orders them to shut up. Jun-woo smiles and says he is glad to see that he understands quickly. He orders him to send his men away right now. All those cars leave that site. Jun-woo sits on a chair. Hae-ryong is still bowed in front of him. He tells him that this shipping deal means a lot to him. It is the lifeline of his company. His company cannot last a quarter without its partnership with OJ. Jun-woo says he would love to renew the contract, but he takes his public image seriously. A gang boss's father as a partner is not the image OG is trying to cultivate. Hae-ryong says he will send his son abroad for college and never set foot in Korea again. Jin-sung asks why he should leave the country. His dad punches his face and asks him to shut up. Jun-woo laughs at them and tells Hae-ryong to stop. He says that studying abroad sounds more like a treat than a punishment. He has another idea for his discipline, one that might help his vessels set sail. Hae-ryong says whatever it is, consider it done. Jun-woo says his son has cost him $50 million today so he can work off the sum he owes. Hae-ryong says his son has no means to make that much money. Jun-woo says he will work on fishing boats. While sitting in Jun-woo's office, Han-jun says he acts like a villain. Jun-woo smiles and says what they are doing is not clean, so he can call him a villain. He also warns him not to get involved in matters that money can solve. It is pointless to get himself hurt. Jun-woo replies that he did not get hurt. Suddenly, the same writer girl touches his back and says he has a bruise. Jun-woo asks him to say hello to Seo-hyeon Choi. He tells him that she will be working with him from now. She is an Instagram celebrity, but she is an informant to them. While sitting beside him, she leans towards Han-jun and says she imagined him to look like a trucker, but he is dapper. Han-jun looks at her and asks if she is serious. Jun-woo interprets them and tells her not to mix business with pleasure. He sits on the sofa and says they must plan for their next move. Seo-hyeon says they already have one where Han-jun beats everyone to death. Jun-woo says Nexus has grown exorbitantly. Han-jun alone cannot take all of them down. He says they need to reinforce their combat force. He flops a file on the table and says a guy and Dong and Hai may join them. Han-jun looks at him and asks if he is talking about Dong, Hai, and Kim. Jun-woo replies yes. He is the same guy who fought Nexus with him when no one else did. Former No, one of Dong and Hai, Dong, Hai, and Kim. The war ruined his life and his me. He cannot even run anymore. Jun-woo says that they still need him. Han-jun gives him a speechless look. Jun-woo says it can get uncomfortable, but they must take things professionally. Han-jun can take this chance to make up with him while raising that Nexus-infested school. At Dongyeon High School, the members of Nexus are having a meeting. They are informed that Sejang has been sent to jail. The reason was his history of forcing purchases. Therefore, no more tribute will be coming from Imyeol High School. The other members pass their comments and say he did not know how to play politics. One of them suggests that they should get back at whoever has sent him to jail, as Sejang is still a member of Nexus. The informer tells them that the one who sent him to jail is Han-jun Park. Hearing this name, Jaehyung Min gets shocked. He is the No, one of Dongyeon High School. He asks if Han-jun did not vow to lay low. Suddenly, a gut enters the room, giving them breaking news of Han-jun joining their school. Jaehyung smirks and says that was unexpected. He asks the guy to tell them everything. Han-jun enters the school and says he is here to destroy them all. The teacher welcomes him into the class and introduces him to everyone. He says Hanan can sit in that seat in the back row. All eyes are on him when he walks towards the back row. As he sits there, his bench fellow, Yumin Jo, says he is happy to meet Han-jun in person. He says that everyone talks about not messing with Han-jun, but he wants to fight with him. He asks him not to take the wrong way. He says he moved here last year and has heard tall tales about Han-jun. He just wants to see if they all were not kidding. He asks him for a one-on-one fair and square fight with no backups. Han-jun does not reply to any of his questions. Yumin asks him if he is the kind that needs to be goaded to action. He smacks his head and asks if he looks like a joke. Han-jun hits his face with his elbow and Yumin falls to his back. Everyone in the class turns their faces to him. It's a dynamic batting cage. Seo-Hyeon is sitting outside the cage using her mobile. She says she is still not sure about recruiting Dong Hye-and Kim. There are a load of muscular guys with no injuries out there. So why him? If it is because he is Park's friend or Jungwoo pities him for his knee, Jungwoo replies he is not running a charity. He is inside the net playing with a bat. He says if there is one word that describes Dong Hye-and Kim, it is tenacious. Some people fixate on his small build. What they are missing is his unyielding spirit with which he fought Nexus. One thing about unyielding spirits is that they break, failing to bend. She is bored with his wisdom talk and asks why they are recruiting one with a broken knee. Jungwoo replies that when someone breaks, even if he fails to recover his vigor, he will find himself with a new sharp edge. Seo-Hyeon says Jungwoo should write a book on his wisdom talks. Han-jun walks through the corridor and all boys keep staring at him. He looks at Dong Hye-and from the opposite side carrying snacks. A fellow of him kicks in his stomach and he falls to the ground. He grabs him by his hair and asks how a snack bar errand can take more than 5 minutes. He says he put money on him making it, and now he lost that money. He helps his face and asks how he will make up for it. No. Another guy inside the class tells that bully that Dong Hye-and is already limping. His daily battering is not making him any faster. He can get crippled just trying to run. How can he think Dong Hye-and can do bread shuttling in 5 minutes? That bully hits him again and says he just needs to be more feared of him than getting crippled. Han-jun sees that all but does nothing. Seo-Hyeon says she has realized that Jungwoo will recruit Dong Hye-and, but Han-jun does not touch her as a particularly eloquent one. She says shoving money in his face would be more convenient. Jungwoo replies that it could work if Kim were kind to fall for money. He asked if she knows why he fought Nexus 2 years ago. It is because Han-jun did it. There was no other reason. This notion may touch some as absurd, fighting someone else's war and risking getting maimed. But, according to his research, a friend's war is as good as his war, and a friend taking a hit is him taking a hit. That's the kind of guy he is. Dong Hye-and is sitting on the bench on the school ground, flicking his lighter, but it is not working. He throws it away. Han-jun comes there and says it's been a long time since he saw him last. Dong Hye-and says he heard the news of his coming here. He asks him if he is here to wreck them. He tells him it is impossible as Nexus has grown much more substantial. They are unmatchable both in headcount and financial firepower. He looks at Han-jun and says they have already lost. Han-jun says this time they will win. While walking away, Dong Hye-and tells him they did not fight to lose last time either. It did not stop him from ending up like this. Han-jun turns his head and says he will see them winning this time. Gyeong-kil watches them from a window and says Han-jun is stupid for making a tag team with a limper. He orders his boys to get ready to take him down. Dong Hye-and is visiting a doctor at night. The doctor appreciates his taking physical therapy seriously, but that's not enough. He tells him that the longer he waits, the less likely a full recovery gets. He suggests he should visit a surgeon immediately. The cost is quite steep, but it is nothing compared to losing his mobility for good. Dong Hye-and says nothing and leaves the hospital. It is raining outside. Gyeong-kil comes there and asks him what the doctor says. He asks if he is getting better. Dong Hye-and asks him what he wants. He replies they were friends once and it hurts to see him like this. Then he says he is just kidding and is here to check how their former know. One is doing. He comes closer to him and says he has witnessed his secret meetings with Han-jun. He thought he should check if Dong Hye-and had recovered because Gyeong-kil would need to break his leg again if he had. Dong Hye-and asks why he came here alone. He knows he cannot take him alone if Dong Hye-and is recovered. Gyeong-kil kicks his leg and makes him fall to the ground. He asks him if Dong Hye-and still thinks Gyeong-kil is his sidekick. He reminds him of Han-jun kneeling and getting clobbered. He asks if he needs to remind him that he ended up like this due to his sticking to loyalty. Dong Hye-and says he remembers that Gyeong-kil betrayed them and joined Nexus. He recipes that Dong Hye-and is making it sound like he is evil. Dong Hye-and asks if he is not. Gyeong-kil replies that he can think what he wants and be a loyal hero, but he would rather be an evil than a loyal hero limper. This time, he may not be able to be a loyal hero. It is still raining the following day. Han-jun is sitting in the classroom. Gyeong-kil makes an announcement. He says all Nexus members in the school have heard that Han-jun Park, who fought Nexus 2 years ago, has transferred to this school and threatened to break them. He asks him if he is ready to get beaten again. He says he knows Han-jun is strong but has never seen him fall in one-on-one combat, but he has no interest in one-on-one combat as he is not stupid. He asks everyone to get in formation and attack Han-jun. But when they all reach there, they see Han-jun has thrown some boys out of the window. Han-jun has already beaten those in his class. He says, let's see who the game is, and starts beating them all alone. Dong Hyeon is still sitting in the classroom. Han-jun is taking down all of those freaks alone. One of them gets terrified and says he will beat all of them. They put him in a lock and beat him together, but Han-jun resists and beats them to free himself. He keeps hitting them mindlessly and moves forward. Soon he gets rid of all those in the corridor, but a whole army of gangsters is waiting for him. One of them asks if he is already tired. Hundreds of them are all over the school ready to beat him. Dong Hyeon hears someone saying that Han-jun is exhausted and they are about to win. He wonders why he is doing this after all that trouble. Seohyam enters the classroom and asks if he is not enjoying his peace while his friend is out there fighting. Dong Hyeon asks her who she is. She replies that she is Han-jun's co-worker. Dong Hyeon says he cannot fight. She replies that she is not going to make him. She is here to tell him that Han-jun already knew the whole school would charge him. Their boss told him to flee immediately, but he did not listen and said he would fight. He said he needed to prove something to Dong Hyeon. Dong Hyeon remembers that Han-jun said they would win this time. Han-jun has defeated all those gangsters. Gyeong-kil walks down the stairs and claps. He says Han-jun never disappoint, but now they are going to give him a hell of a time. They charge at him. Dong Hyeon comes there and attacks one of them with a wiper stick. He asks him why he wants to do all the cool things alone. Gyeong-kil says it is good that he showed up as well. Now they will take both of them down. They run to attack him. Dong Hyeon breaks the stick into two and gets ready for the fight. One guy asks if he is trying to look cool by doing such poses. He punches Dong Hyeon but blocks it with one stick and hits him with the other. Another guy grips him and pushes him back. He hits his back with his head and frees himself. He keeps beating those boys with sticks. On the other hand, Han-jun is giving them a tough time with his fists. Both have trapped those boys in center and beaten them one by one. Those boys cannot believe that one person with a disability and one exhausted are defeating them so severely. They wonder why they are so strong. Dong Hyeon tells Han-jun that he is sorry. He has been resenting him like hell for what he has become. But deep down, he knew it was not his fault. He says he just needed someone to blame. Han-jun is happy to see that his friend is back. Suddenly, Gyeong-kil jumps on them to crush them. He says he can do them this favor if they wish to die. Dong Hyeon says he will handle him. They both slide away and prevent the attack. They run towards the door. Gyeong-kil runs after them and asks if this is their best move. Han-jun grabs him from the shirt and throws him on the floor. He gets up and sees Dong Hyeon locking the door so he cannot escape. Han-jun asks him to give him 1 minute. Dong Hyeon says he won't take long to beat Gyeong-kil to death. Gyeong-kil says they just made another stupid choice. Dong Hyeon says it could look that way when one has no friends. He calls him pathetic. This makes Gyeong-kil furious, and he moves forward to punch him. Dong Hyeon stabs his hand with a stick. He beats him well with that stick. Gyeong-kil grabs him from his waist, lifts him, and throws him to the glass door so hard that it breaks. He laughs at him and says he has no weapon to fight with now. Dong Hyeon takes off his shirt and wraps it around his arm. Gyeong-kil asks if this is a joke. Dong throws that shirt on his face and pulls him so that he falls on the floor. He throws punches at him. Gyeong-kil pulls his leg so Dong loses his balance. Then he locks his leg to prevent him from escaping. He tells him neither of them is the guy they used to be. Then he hits his broken leg so hard that Dong Hyeon starts screaming due to pain. Gyeong-kil sits aside and pants while Dong Hyeon holds his injured knee on the ground. Gyeong-kil tells him that he will surely pay for his revolt today. He walks towards the door, but Dong Hyeon calls him and says he is not done with him yet. Gyeong-kil asks him if that beating was not enough for him. Dong Hyeon gets up and says it hasn't ended yet. Gyeong-kil punches him in the face and asks what he can do now. He grabs him and throws him in the glass. He falls to the ground. Gyeong-kil leaves him there and walks away. Dong Hyeon calls him again and says he is not done yet. He picks up some pieces of broken glass and cuts his face with it. Gyeong-kil worriedly sees cuts on his face. Dong Hyeon does the same on the other side of the face. Gyeong-kil tries to throw a punch at him, but Dong Hyeon dodges this attack. He grabs him from the shirt and says he does not expect a sellout to understand, but he cannot lose. If he lets him walk over him, he cannot face Han-jun anymore. He smashes his head in his face. Gyeong-kil's vision blurs. Dong Hyeon beats him well and leaves him half dead. He leaves the room and sees Han-jun has cared for all the others. He's about to fall, but Han-jun supports him. Both of them are panting heavily and are happy about their win. Chairman of the board, Dong Yeon-hai, comes there and is disappointed to see the school almost destroyed. He cannot believe they brought the school to this condition just to catch one man. He orders his men to bring Han-jun to him. At the same time, the lawyer from the KP firm comes there and says they should let the kids sort out their differences and have a grown-up conversation. They sit in a room. The chairman says Han-jun must be rich to afford a lawyer from this firm, but Thai is a law-governed country. Money does not buy him the right to beat others. That lawyer asks him why they don't cut the chase. He gives him 3 suitcases and asks him to open them, and he will not be disappointed. The chairman smirks and says big firms know how to do the talk. He adds that he takes nothing but yellowbacks. Byung-won opens the suitcases. They have some paper and audio files in them. The chairman asks what these are. These are not the yellow papers he demanded. Byung-won says these are the news headlines for tomorrow. Dongyun High has been hushing up school violence. Out of the school and into the gang. How Dongyun High graduates got recruited. Byung-won says they have evidence of this school embezzling subsidies, purchasing estates on spec, and committing tax fraud. If the chairman is unhappy with this evidence, KR firm is happy to dig deeper. The chairman replies as Byung-won works on these, has it occurred to him that he could get killed? Those gangsters put knives on the throats of KR firm members. He asks Byung-won if he has a spare life or something, as he does not look afraid. Byung-won replies he gets killed. It certainly won't be the end. He asks if KR and DOA foundations get in a death match. Who does he think will win? And now, a betman of the murder on top, he says, a fat chance for the chairman. He reads the situation and asks his men to remove the knives. He asks Byung-won what he wants. Byung-won smirks and says not much. He just wants him to hand over this school. Han-jun and Seo Leon are present outside the ICU of the emergency ward. She asks him if he is sure he is not a robot, as he fought the entire school, but he is unscathed. Han-jun wonders if she cannot see the bruises all over his body now. At the same time, the doctor comes out of the ICU. He tells them he cannot understand how Dong Hyeon was holding him all the pain. He came in a fairly bad state. They would have to watch the progress, but he tells them the surgery succeeded. Jung-woo is sitting in a hotel lobby, reading an article about Dongyun High and becoming happy about his success. On the other hand, a reporter is thanking Chien-soo Kim for his time to take this interview, as it will be very inspiring for students. As Jung-woo comes near him, Chien-soo thinks it weird as their team's schedule never gets canceled for a Mirror magazine interview. He looks at Jung-woo and says he must have arranged this interview. He says it is a great honor to meet Mr. Oh. Jung-woo sits beside him and asks if he has forgotten who he is. Chien-soo smiles and says he has not, but time has passed and things have changed. The past is in the past. Note he is a CEO and Chien-soo is a gamer at most. It's due respect he pays to a man he much admires. Jung-woo says he is glad Chien-soo knows his place, but he is known for clinging to the past. That's why he swallowed up Dongyun High. Chien-soo says he does not know what Jung-woo is talking about. He puts his cup on the table and says he better get going unless Jung-woo has more to say. He reaches out to him for a handshake, but Jung-woo does not show a response. So he bows his head and leaves. Jung-woo calls him and says let's see if he can put on this fake smile next time. Chien-soo leaves the place with an angry face. After he leaves, Jung-woo gets relaxed. He was worried that he might get intimidated by the look of him. But he was worrying for nothing. While going back, Chien-soo gets a call. The other person asks him what he will do about Han-jun and Jung-woo. He replies that they just shot out a flare. They are taking action against those two. He says this fight will be the biggest in Korean history. All the prominent members of Nexus are gathered for an urgent meeting in a hotel in Seoul City. Tae-soo Choi, leader of the Gyeonggi chapter, asks others about the reason for this urgent meeting. He says he also has a private life that gets disturbed due to such short notice. Mun-gil Lee, leader of the Chungcheon chapter, says what they can about it. They have no chance. Ji-hyuk Kim, leader of the Gangwon chapter, says if Chien-soo says we gather, we gather. Chien-ju-jo, leader of the Jeolla chapter, says they shouldn't be negative about it. They've got a chance to see Seoul City. Tae-soo asks if this meeting is about Han-jun Park. He thought he had been lying low after getting slapped with settlement bills. Mun-gil replies he thinks the same. Dong-shin Baek, leader of the Gyeongsang chapter, asks who Han-jun is and if he is an important figure. Mun-gil laughs at his way of calling Han-jun's name. He mocks him and says it is not his fault as he joined only last year. He tells him that 2 years ago, this massive nuisance of a guy named Han-jun Park was the overlord of a small district of Seoul. Nexus had most of Seoul, its surrounding areas, and some other provinces under control. But Han-jun Park's district just wouldn't fall into Nexus' hands. But there was a bigger problem. His presence must have inspired guys from other districts. More and more rise up against them. So they had to pour their everything into hunting him. And it went not well. Otherwise, they wouldn't have gathered today. The unimaginable thing was that they outnumbered him. They lost every battle. After a while, Nexus was on the verge of a breakup. Dongshin wonders and asks how that is possible. Mungil smirks and says once he sees him fighting, he will understand that Han-jun is a beast. Dongshin laughs at them and says they all must have fought like cowards. Mungil smiles back and reminds him of his pecking order. Ji-hyuk asks him to stop arguing. He also says that Dongshin is not entirely wrong. Taser reminds them that it all happened 2 years ago, but now Nexus has grown out of his reach. Cheon-ju suggests them not to think so. He says it is better to be safe than sorry. If this means the least to them to someone, it could be the day he has been looking forward to. In the meantime, Cheon-su enters the room and greets everyone. He sits and apologizes to them for the short notice. He says he will make up to them with dinner after this, but he has gathered them all to talk about Han-jun Park as he has started making moves. Now a war will be inevitable. It was already determined, but he thought it was a face-to-face kind of talk. Taezu says he knows it is better to be careful and asks if it calls for war. Are they not taking too much pressure off for losing a measly school? Cheon-su smiles. Taezu realizes he has said something wrong. He starts sweating. Cheon-su roars and asks if they think he is making a fuss. Taezu starts shivering out of fear. In-sunam, leader of the Inshin chapter, says he does not think Cheon-su is overreacting. He says he will take care of this matter. Cheon-su asks him if he is sure about it, as they can no longer threaten him with settlement money. He's got a backer. Insu replies that he has been prepared since he got this scar. Cheon-su says Insu has a history with him as well, so he will give him this chance. All other members agree to this decision as well. Insu laughs hysterically as he has got this opportunity to take revenge. Insu gathers his men around the lighthouse. He tells them that the day has finally arrived. The day they are good to go off Han-jun Park. One of them asks him if he is telling the truth. He says he cannot wait to kill him. Jung-woo brings Han-jun to that ruined house. He thinks it unfair that he knows everything about Han-jun, but Han-jun does not know anything about him. He says he knows nothing about how Jung-woo earns so much money, why he hates Cheon-su so much, or why he is desperate for this potentially costly vengeance. He enters the home and asks Han-jun to come in as it is time to know the truth. They sit at the dining table in the kitchen. Jung-woo tells him that he doesn't own the money he has. It belongs to the owner of this house. 2 years ago, when he was a student, he had a friend. The kind of friend with whom you go way back, whom you have known forever. A friend that you fight with every day, only to make up with him the next day. A friend who is family. He was a genius in information technology. He made his stock trading eye. He could handle financial statements, market scale, policies, clientele, and the management's philosophy and public opinion. It could analyze all those things and prepare a recovery plan before investing. But then Nexus started planting its goons to control their district. They would stomp on anyone conspicuous and disband all other rings. But Jung-woo did not bear that treatment and resisted back. His friend was the same way. They were not the best at throwing hands, but they fought back like dogs. They thought if they showed Nexus how rash they could get, Nexus would just let them be. But they were wrong. Nexus was even a rasher. They burned his friend along with his house. He could not do anything to save him. When Jung-woo asked them why they did that, they beat him and said they just had a cigarette in front of that house. He should blame his friend for being unlucky. At that time, he could do nothing to avenge his friend's death. He was helpless. The will to fight back against Nexus and the hope that life could get better was not a thing anymore. He wanted to die and erase all traces of his existence from this world. He turned on the computer and saw the AI trader running there. He was thinking to liquidate and donate everything. But when he saw the profit, he forgot to blink his eyes. I did not feel anything at that time. There was no joy or regret. He was wistful because his friend would never see the fruit of his invention. He was angry that he could not share that news with him. That anger gave him a reason to live. He tells Han-jun that this money belongs to his friend. He does not mind using it all to wreck Cheon-su Kim. Han-jun asks him why he is telling him all this. Jung-woo replies that he is gaslighting him. He is making it impossible for Han-jun ever to give up destroying Nexus. While returning, Jung-woo tells Seo-hyun that he just told his sad story to Han-jun. He praises her for her idea. She wonders what Jung-woo would look like while sharing his life story. She reminds him that the ancient chapter gang is coming after him. They don't use their brains. They just charge. She advises him to be careful of them as a grainy one would stand no chance against them. He agrees with her and says they would not have pulled this nonsense in the middle of the road if they had used their brains. They threw paint on his car. The driver asked Jung-woo to hold tight as things were getting worse. The car hits the dual carriageway. Seo-hyun is still on the call. She asks him what noise this is. Jung-woo has fallen unconscious due to the accident. Insu picks up the phone and asks if she is his girlfriend. He asks her to go to Han-jun Park and tells him Insu-nam from Incheon awaits him. They are taking Jung-woo to the JQ distribution center in East Incheon. Han-jun will know what to do. Insu drops the phone there and they all leave. Han-jun is walking in the street and thinking Jun-woo is so dramatic. He was not going to give up anyway. Suddenly, Seo-leon comes there on her bike. She asks him to get on the bike as some hyenas from Incheon have kidnapped Jun-woo. Jun-woo comes back to his senses and finds himself tied to a chair. He is brought to a distribution factory. All those Incheon rats are standing around him. Banjung-baek glares at him. He asks Insu if he should knock him out again. Insu says there is no need for that as he is just bait for Han-jun. They are just holding him for a while. Jun-woo laughs at them and says they must be eccentric to abduct the chairperson of the leading company with brute force. He compliments them for this move of theirs. He asks if they are not lacking self-awareness as they are the weakest link of Nexus. Jun-woo says he remembers a weak person begging for forgiveness from Han-jun Park just 2 years ago. He grins and asks if Insu thinks he can survive Han-jun when he arrives. Banjung asks him to shut his mouth. Insu tells him that he must have heard a little about their chapter but not so much. He says it was just one man who knelt before Han-jun. Jun-woo smiles and asks him not to judge that one man as he is Insu's brother and he knelt in front of Han-jun to save Insu. Banjung grabs his collar and is about to throw a punch. He warns Jun-woo not to say another word. Otherwise, he will kill him. Jun-woo keeps speaking to tease him. When Banjung is about to beat him, a boy comes running and informs them that Han-jun is approaching. Insu asks Banjung to save his energy to deal with him. Banjung throws Jun-woo away and walks outside. Before going outside, Insu tells him that the ex-head of the Incheon chapter knelt. Insu will show him that they are nothing like before. Seo-leon and Han-jun enter the area and the Incheon gang follows them. She feels like all the bikers in the city are chasing her. She applies a brake when she reaches the Incheon gang in the middle of the road. She is terrified to see Banjung and asks if he is a Yeti. Banjung asks her to shut up and orders them to follow him. He says he's dying to kill them, but they don't gang up on people. In Incheon, they go one-on-one. While following him, Seo-leon asks how he is so big that she has never seen such an immense human before. Banjung ignores her completely. She keeps asking a lot of questions to him just to tease him. He turns his head and asks her to shut her mouth. She says she is curious and cannot help it. She asks him to answer her one question. 2 years ago, their chapter's leader settled everything with Park, so why are they all after him now? Banjung asks if she is provoking him. He tells her he beats women too and asks if she wants to get beaten. Han-jun comes in between them and says she is not wrong. Banjung cannot control anymore and he decides to hit him. He was born an unprecedented ultra-strapping baby. After hitting puberty, he reached 7'1" and 536 lbs. He is widely known as Blimp, the man-wrecker, and he just took his first flight when Han-jun kicked him. He falls away and loses his senses. As soon as he steps into the factory, all those Incheon boys get ready to attack him. Seo-leon makes a joke and asks if they can go one-on-one here. Jun-woo asks Han-jun to lose him as soon as possible as his legs are asleep. Insu steps close to him and asks him to shut up. He removes his jacket and says he will handle him alone. He goes near Han-jun and says he is glad to see him after a long time. Han-jun asks him if he is Mansu's brother. Insu does not reply and throws a quick punch in his face. Han-jun even could not see the moment. He gets a cut on his face. Jun-woo was shocked to see that cut on his face. He was ashamed. In Incheon, they pride themselves on being the strongest in Korea. It was shameful for them to submit to Han-jun without even putting up a fight. So Insu quit boxing. The path before him was that of a fighter, not a boxer. After that, he put himself through 2 years of training, wrecking 27 schools, 13 gyms, and 4 gangs on the road. He honed himself through countless fights to get back at Park. He throws punches at him and asks him if this is his best. What becomes of the humiliation they have suffered and the anger he has been nursing for the past 2 years? Han-jun is just taking his hits as he cannot escape them. Seo-hyun cannot believe that Han-jun is getting cornered. She figures that he can lose at this rate. Jun-woo says they will just wait and watch for now. He tells her that he did some research before hiring him. He was shocked to know Han-jun has no background in martial arts if they don't count fitness training. He has been tearing Nexus apart all this time with his natural strength, endurance, intuition, and adaptability. Once he grasps Nam's style, the table will turn. But the problem is that Insu is aware of all this too. Han-jun is getting beaten up badly. There are wounds a gloved hand can make. And then there are injuries a bare knuckle can inflict. A bare knuckle of a real boxer can even tear up human skin. Insu is taking advantage of this. He is tenderizing Han-jun to deal that critical blow in the second round he pre-planned. He punches him in the stomach and throws him into the wall. He asks him not to make him angry and to throw accurate punches. Han-jun tries to tackle him, but Insu grabs him by his neck and squeezes it. Han-jun pushes off his upper body weight and applies pressure solely with his core strength. Insu wonders if this is for real. Han-jun is pushing him back to crash him into the wall. Insu smirks and says this technique might work if Insu is a simple boxer. Boxing may have given him a leg up, but he is a street fighter in every aspect. He grabs him from his upper limb and kicks in his abdomen. He lifts him and smacks him down. He throws him in his steel rack. Insu's men get excited to see him getting beaten. They say they are taking their pride back. Insu says not now. It was just round one. He knows it will take more than that to knock Han-jun down, but the tear he made in his eyes and the bleeding will nibble his sight away. Then he will lose his balance and speed. He is confident that this game will improve in his favor, so he runs to punch him. But Han-jun dodges this punch. Insu wonders how that is possible. Jungwoo and Seo Hyun are also surprised to see this sudden change. Han-jun throws his first hit at Insu's face. Insu is shocked to see that Han-jun dodged his punch. He wonders if he is reading his moves. Han-jun hits another punch. Insu is losing his ground. The next punch hits his head. Insu may have the speed earned from all his combats, but he is fighting a beast right now. Jungwoo says that Han-jun cannot be overpowered by anything. Seo Hyun asks why he has been taking it, standing still until now. He replies Han-jun is not taking it, standing still. He was sizing up his opponent with his body, the fluid switching between infighting and outboxing. His range and speed, Han-jun was studying them. Insu is worried now as Han-jun knows where Insu's punches and kicks will fall. Now Han-jun is beating him continuously. Insu wonders if his training of all those years was for reading like an open book. Insu still has the edge of being fast. He gives many cuts to Han-jun's body. He continuously throws punches at him, so Han-jun cannot keep up. Jungwoo reads the situation and says Insu is going to get lost. Han-jun hits his face and tells Insu that he is slow. He throws an uppercut punch and Insu's mouth bleeds. Insu goes back in memory lane. His brother told him he could do anything to protect his crew, even if he had to swallow his pride. He used to say that the most miserable man on this earth is the one who fails to protect what he loves. Therefore, he bent his knees before Han-jun. Insu did not want it to happen, but his brother did that to protect him. Still, Insu stepped in and got that scar on his face. But now, when this beast beats him up, he realizes what his brother protects him from. His crew asks Blimp if they will just stand there and watch this happening. Insu has found that a man cannot fight and win against this beast. Insu is scared. He wants to run away. Suddenly, his crew runs to attack Han-jun. Blimp leads them and says he will be responsible for whatever happens now. Insu shouts and orders them to stop. He kneels and bows in front of Han-jun and accepts his defeat. Insu remembers that he was ashamed that the man he used to call his boss took his knees so lightly. But now, he finally gets it all. The humiliation Mansu must have felt, the pin of no one understanding him, and how heavy his knees must have felt. It was not Han-jun weighing them down. It was his crew. Blimp screams and asks Insu to get up. He asks if he is admitting he is as cowardly as his brother. Jungwoo comes forward and asks them to use their brains. He tells them Insu is doing this for their sake. He asks Blimp if he thinks hacking up Han-jun makes them the winners. He tells them that when grown men fight, the one who fights to protect and succeeds wins. Right now, that man is Insu. He asks Insu to look up, spits on his hand, and punches his head. Insu asks what that was for. Jungwoo reminds Insu that he kidnapped him and that punch was for that. He says now he feels better and Insu should be grateful he did not cart him off to jail. Now they have got even for kidnapping. He says Insu's gang owes quite a bit to Nexus. The heavy sum their ex had borrowed from Nexus to save each of their deprived family. Jungwoo has paid it off. All of them are surprised to hear this. Insu asks him why he did this. Jungwoo replies if he doesn't, they will keep hounding him. He says they are fools if they think he is just giving that money away. He asks them to check their phones for a message from a vocational school. Jungwoo says he has prepaid their tuition fee. He advises them to study hard and work like a dog to pay it off. He knows they have been working off the debt to Nexus with the pennies they earned by doing food deliveries and construction work. He says he is helping them only because he thinks highly of that integrity, unyielding to hardships. Insu bends his head to say thanks. He cannot stand owing to anyone, so he promises to pay it off. Jungwoo leaves that place with others. Insu tells his boys that he has lost and has nothing to say. He apologizes to them for staining their honor. He promises never to do the same again. He announces that from today, Incheon is not a chapter of Nexus. He asks them if they are with him for the honorable future of Incheon. All of his men bow and say yes. The next day in his office, Jungwoo thanks his team for excellently wrapping up Incheon. Han-jun notices Seo Hyun doing strange behavior. She is happy to get the enormous amount that Jungwoo gave her for her job yesterday. She excitingly says she hopes those Incheon men kidnap Jungwoo every day. Jungwoo says she should wash her mouth while saying that in the presence of that kidnapped man. She says she is just too happy to care. She tells Han-jun that he has got some severe cannonball shoulders. He will look quite okay if he wraps up in the right outfit. She asks him if he has time this weekend. She wants him to go shopping with her. At the weekend, those three go shopping. She makes him try different clothes. She looks at Han-jun and says Mountain Bandit is a new thing. Han-jun does not look happy, so he makes him try the next look. Han-jun looks like a rock and roll maniac. She says it's like he is an actual beat-up rock star. She takes a picture of him and asks him to throw that peace sign to make it good, but he gives her a horrible look. She gets terrified and asks him not to kill her. Jungwoo asks her to stop this nonsense now, as Han-jun does not like it at all. She asks him to try some casuals on. When Han-jun comes out of the changing room, she cannot take her eyes off him. She blushes and says from now he will wear only these casuals. She picks some more outfits for him. Two men in the store look at Seo Hyeon and recognize her as an Instagram celebrity. They say she looks fine in person too. The blonde man says he is going in. The black one warns him as she is an influencer and out of his league. The blonde guy brags and says those two men she is hanging out with show her standard is not so high. She needs a taste of a real man like him. He says she is just some glorified fantasy toy with some followers. He tells his friend that he will introduce him to her after he hits on her. He goes near her and says he has some friendly feelings about her. He asks her if she wants to hang out with him. She asks him who he is. He says he just wants to have some fun with her. He pats on her shoulder and says he loves Korea. She slaps him and asks who he thinks he is groping. She also heard everything he said. She calls him names. That guy gets angry and attacks her, saying she should know her place better. Han-jun punches his face. That guy falls on the glass door and it breaks. His friend comes forward to attack Han-jun. He blocks his punch and, as a result, breaks his fingers. He grabs him. That guy asks him for forgiveness. Seo Hyeon is enjoying the show while having popcorn. Suddenly, the storekeeper tells them they cannot fight inside the store. Otherwise, she will call the police. Seo Hyeon apologizes to her and says they will stop right now. She says they also have to pay for the damage they have caused. Seo Hyeon and Han-jun look at Jungwoo as if he is their cash cow. At the Gayami chapter of Nexus, Tasu Choi is playing cards in a bar. He is also talking to someone over the phone. He is told that Inchin has got owned. He was expecting the same from those clowns. He compliments Jungwoo for paying all their debts. His opponent player is a girl shivering as she loses the game. Taesu tells the other person on the call that he is ready to go into action, so they don't need to worry about Han-jun. He ends the call and comes back to the game. He apologizes to the girl in front for taking so long. He asks her if she is ready to check the card that could be her last. She opens her last card while her hands are shivering. She starts crying as she is lost again. He tells her that her total debt has become 120 million won. The staff grabs her and is about to take her to her new workplace. She cries and resists at first. Then she says she will do what he asked her earlier. He looks at her, smirking, and asks if she didn't say she was her close friend. She replies that she said, but now she's got what she should do. He gives her Soyeon's picture and hopes she does not regret her choice. Dong-yeon is doing heavy leg presses at the hospital's recovery ward to regain strength. He is dipped in sweat. The nurse comes to him and asks him to stop overwork as he is not fully recovered yet. He says he will stop after doing 2 more sets. Jungwoo comes there and asks him how his recovery is going on. He replies everything is going well. He thanks Jungwoo for paying his bills. He will make sure to pay it back. Jungwoo says there is no need to pay back. He also should not feel pressured to fight Nexus. He can do what he wants. Don Van thanks him again. He makes it clear that he will not stop until he defeats Nexus. He is fighting Nexus because he is choosing it. Jungwoo smiles and says he cannot wait to see him fully recovered. Jungwoo tells about his meeting with Dong-yeon to Han-jun. He is happy to know about his fast recovery. Jungwoo says since they are thoroughly updated on Dong-yeon's health, it's time to back to their business. He tells Han-jun that Inchin was the first to rally. The next one they will fight is who loaned them money. It's Tasu Choi in his Gayami chapter. Han-jun has not seen him yet. Taesu is the financial pillar supporting Nexus with the money he rakes in through loan sharking. He is the one target to eliminate. Jungwoo takes Han-jun to meet someone. The guy they came to see is mentally ill. He asks Jungwoo to promise to keep him safe. Then he will tell him everything. He promises him and asks him not to worry at all. That guy says that Tasu Choi is the devil incarnate. He starts telling his story. He was so handsome that everyone used to praise him. People around him asked him to be an Instagram influencer as he has a pretty face. He used to like those words of encouragement because it was his dream to be one of those influencers. He wanted to be loved by the public and set trends as they did. But the reality was harsher than that as his account was not growing. He used to wonder what he was doing wrong. He was about to give up. Right then, he got invited to a party held by celebrities with hundreds of followers. It was like a golden rope sent from heaven. because if he hung out with them, he would get more followers in no time. He seized the chance and went to their parties. They also praised his face and asked him to join the live stream. With their support, his following skyrocketed. It made him feel like he was something special. But it did not last longer. After some time, those influencers started showing their actual color. They were gamblers. He tried to stop him and told him that it was not right. That guy asked him to get lost as he was not remarkable to them anymore. They kicked him out of the gang. Soon after that, he lost all his followers as well. Whatever he posted or did on live, nothing could regain his followers. He started going maniac. He desperately tried to be in the gang's good book and regain his followers, so he started gambling. Soon he got addicted and lost everything. He used all the money from his father and was desperate to earn it back. And that's when Tazu entered the story. Tazu loaned him some money, and he accepted it like an idiot. But he had to work for him for 10 years to pay off that debt. But what drives him up the wall is that Tasu Choi turns out to be the person who trapped him in the gambling world. He knows it is all his fault and should not have fallen into his trap, but he was stupid back then. Jungwoo asks him not to blame himself, as the ones in the wrong here are those who chased his dreams. Jungwoo assures him that they will teach them a lesson soon. That guy opens the door by kicking it. The staff looks at him surprisingly. He remembers that Jungwoo told him to go there with Han-jun and play a little. That guy says he would not. Jungwoo told him earlier that his involvement would be confidential. He said he did not want to do anything with Nexus. Jungwoo told him if he didn't want to do anything with Nexus, wasn't that precisely the way? He said they would remove all gambling parlors and Nexus bases in Gyeonggi province. Jungwoo guaranteed him his safety. A croupier asks him if he has anything to bet. That guy puts the money bag in front of that croupier and asks him to take half of it. The croupier thinks him foolish. He shows him the way. That guy was confused when Jungwoo told him this plan. He asked what the connection was between his gambling and Nexus going down. Jungwoo replied he would bankrupt them by winning all their money. He said he knew a surefire way of winning. In regular casinos, dealers don't win all the time. But judging from the past, the games are designed to guarantee the dealers win every time. That means they are duping others. When Jungwoo told him all these things, that guy asked him how they would win if the dealer cheated. Jungwoo replied they would turn it to their advantage. When croupier gives him the coin, he puts a gamble on all of them. He tells that guy that he's got quite the nerve, but he hears shattering when he brings cards out of his sleeves. Suddenly, Han-jun jumps over and kicks his face, and the dealer falls to the ground. The cards in his sleeves get revealed. That guy tells him the rules that if someone is caught red-handed, he remains empty-handed. So he takes all that money as it belongs to him. All the guards gather around and ask if they think it wise to create a scene there. They ask both of them to leave the money and get lost. Han-jun refuses. They attack them. But Han-jun beats all of them. He forces other joints to play as well. He catches them red-handed, playing their tricks. He beats the crap out of them. It sounds violent, but they are playing it fair and square. They are not conning anyone. At the headquarters of the Gyeonggi chapter, a man informs Tasu that their second, fourth, and fifth location has been bankrupted in one day. He says Jungwoo plays an impressive fast game, but he has just got in touch with Seo Haeyeon at this time. She asked her friend if she called her up because Taesu made her do that. She apologizes to her. Taesu says he apologizes if she finds it displeasing, but now when they have met, she could indulge him with a talk. He may be able to offer an opportunity that could please her. He asks her to tell him about Jungwoo's plans. In return, he will pay her 3 times what she gets from Jungwoo. She excitedly accepts the deal. She says he would have already told her he had money for her. She was scared for nothing. Taesu was also surprised to see her reaction. She gives her account number and asks him to send money. Then she will tell him everything. Taesu smiles and says he is happy to know her choice, but she should think again if she is planning to tell a lie. Those who take his money and lie tend to turn out dead. Charlie and Rodriguez give her threatening looks. She acts cool and says she is a terrible liar, so they should not be worried. She receives the money and says she will start with her most imminent plan. She starts counting back from 10. Taesu asks her what she is doing right now. She finishes counting and announces that Operation Mop Up the Gyeonggi headquarters has been launched. Suddenly, the entrance door breaks and Han-jun enters the room. That guy in a blue tracksuit is with him as well. He asks them if they are ready to play. All of the staff attack him on getting orders from their boss, but all of them get beaten in no time. Taesu wonders what he is doing here. No plan on earth would be able to work against Han-jun right now. Han-jun punches him and he tumbles down. He orders Charlie and Rodriguez to kill him at all costs. They tear down their clothes to show their muscle mass and intimidate him with their hugeness. They stand behind him. Han-jun leaves Taesu to take care of them. Taesu decides to run from there as fast as he can. He knows they both look solid and massive, but have no strength. Both of them are going to lose to him. Han-jun grabs their heads and smashes them on the ground. While running, Tasu tries to think about what he should do. He is not good at throwing hands, but he made it up here. It was possible because he knew how to overpower muscles with money and manipulation. He just has to think of a plan to take him down. But first, he has to save his life. Seovian is taking pictures of Charlie and Rodriguez after Han-jun has beaten them. She tells him that Tasu has run away already. Han-jun looks at the door and thinks chasing him mindlessly is useless. Jun-woo is informed about Tasu's running away. He says he will find him soon and contact Han-jun after that. He appreciates the rest of the work. Han-jun leaves the office. Jun-woo is offended as Tasu has made his work tricky. He is thinking about what plan Tasu will be plotting against them. The guy on the computer tells Tasu that he made a wise move by disappearing from the scene. Tasu replies that it will take a fool to wrestle with that beast when there is an easier way. He asks if the thing he ordered is ready. That guy replies yes. Tasu has to say the word and Han-jun is as good as dead. Tasu orders him to post it, and that guy presses the button. The gig is posted online to kill Han-jun, and the reward of 2 billion won is offered. Many people think that Tasu's principal source of income is the gambling parlor he runs, but it is not. Their primary income source is the illegal gambling website. He had just posted a bet of 2 billion won on Han-jun's neck in front of their 87,000 users. The users have started taking an interest in bounty, but they know that a bounty that big means it's dangerous as hell. The chances are that no one will dare rise to the challenge. That's why Tasu introduced an incentive system. This way, people who think they cannot kill him will try to make good money with a single blow. Countless people will be his predator. He would never suspect anyone around until they attacked him. The hunt has begun. Han-jun is passing by a street. A girl from behind calls him Gyeonmin. He looks behind at her. She apologizes to him as she takes him for someone else. She bows to apologize. Han-jun starts walking again. A girl named Sujin brings a knife from her bag and runs toward him to stab him from behind. As she runs fast, Han-jun hears the sound of her footsteps. So when she attacks, he blocks it by grabbing her arm. He notices her uncoordinated movements and gets that she is not from Nexus. That girl asks him if he has got eyes in the back of his head. She says she needs money when he is busy listening to her. A guy wearing a helmet attacks him with a bat from behind. Han-jun blocks it as well. He asks the girl why did she attack him. Meanwhile, he breaks his helmet with his bat. His facial bones break with that hit, and he falls to the ground. He gives her a scary look and asks her to explain everything. She shows him that ad from the gambling site she uses. She apologizes to him for attempting. Han-jun connects the puzzle pieces and understands Tasu does it. Suddenly, some people from the other side of the street enter there to attack him. They all are here carrying different weapons to attack him. It is like a punching bag for them that spits out money. Han-jun looks at them and thinks they all are ordinary people. The tech guy informs Tasu that they are getting countless reports of attempts. People are going crazy for this task. He says he worried the incentive system would not do the trick. But he was underestimating the number of people hung up on money. Now he is worried about going bankrupt by paying the incentive. Tasu smirks and says this is the natural outcome. He asks the tech guy if he knows why Tasu chose to seize the gambling market. That guy says he has no idea about it. He tells him that gambling makes people submissive. He gives an example. If he offers 2 billion won to a billionaire to kill someone, he will never take that. But those impoverished, who lost it all to gambling, will accept it. 2 billion won can bring them a luxurious life, so they will not hesitate for a second to kill someone. Morality is not a thing for them. And that's why they are the best running dogs for this work. Han-jun starts beating those strikers. He is shocked to see a kid among those gamblers. He escapes his attack but doesn't beat him. A guy enters his car in that narrow street to block the exit. He comes out from the car's sunroof, carrying a knife in his hand. Han-jun carries a metal waste bin and beats that car guy with it. He gets a call from Jun-woo. He asks Han-jun if he is okay. He also tells him that he has sent a rescue team and they will be there in no time. Han-jun replies that he does not need them. Instead, he should send him the location of Tasu. Jun-woo orders his security chief to send a security team right now. He is furious at this action of Tasu. Han-jun climbs the wall to escape from there. He jumps over them and runs from there. As he passes by a layman, that guy informs his team that Han-jun is in the trap. After he enters the Gotham, someone shuts it down. A whole team of street fighters is waiting for him there. Han-jun gets that they steered him in here using the people outside. He thinks these people must be from Nexus. He ties his cufflinks and says for the first time he is glad to run into a Nexus den.